LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey.
TA! We are live. We are back. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Sad time. Sad time. Where'd Zach go? Man, this show starts, he just trots away. What the heck happened? What was that?
I had to shut the door.
Oh. It's like, man,
we're here.
Must have been a terrible intro. Man, golly.
Yeah, I think,
man,
I should take
Zach.
it. It's just not great. I'm just kidding.
Fun times right now. Not. I'm sad. The Super Regionals are playing, and LSU is not playing.
Yeah, it's a rough night to come back to the show. So
I'm so sad. I really am. I'm so sad that LSU baseball's over. This year was fun.
I had like complete confidence after we won game 2 that we were going to be out of that Super Regional and be hosting.
Oh man!
Especially after Miami got put out, like I was fully expecting it.
Yeah, it felt like we were trending that way, but the baseball season ends in Hattiesburg in the worst way ever. I mean, for someone to come out of the losers bracket and beat you and then beat you again.
I mean, shoot, that's what LSU baseball did last season. That's what they had to do, and that's what Southern Miss did.
And it is absolutely brutal to be on the other side.
It is, because you wholeheartedly believed after Saturday night that you were going to be able to get out of that Super Regional and potentially host the Super. But I don't know, Reagan. We can talk about it, but I mean, in my opinion, I think they were just gassed. I think Southern Miss just outpitched them. They outpitched them.
Look, I mean, it's so frustrating because you had leads in both games. It's so, man, you go. I mean, last time we came on, we were playing Crunk Ain't Dead because LSU just made another miraculous comeback, and you were set up to win this regional. I mean, you're set up to close it out. And you know, against Kennesaw State, they pitched what's his name, Hunter Riggins, their last best guy or whatever you want to say, and then it's kind of like a bullpen type of whatever for the Sunday night game, and you start off with the first inning with a 2-run shot from Cade Doty, and you're like, oh, it's on, like, and then what's crazy, Zach, is what has been your strength.
Yep. Honestly,
what has been your strength all season is really what put us out.
Yep.
Your bullpen put you out, I feel like, in this game. In this regional. I don't know what happened to the bullpen. I mean, we were singing their praises all year long, and rightfully so. They had a great year, fantastic year. But, man, the bullpen, this regional was rough. I mean, it was like you couldn't find a guy to come in and throw strikes. It was like you brought in a guy and they would just start walking people. I mean,
well, that's what I tweeted. I was like, the reason they lost those games was because they did not have a bullpen pitcher that could come in and just shut the door. I mean, Paul Gervais if you had anybody that actually got close to that, Paul Gervais is that guy. Like, but he wasn't even on point like he has been all season. But guys that they got touched and they got hit on, and they weren't able to command. They weren't able to command the strike zone. It felt like nobody could command the strike zone that came in. So yeah, you're right.
I mean, in the first game, the second game against Southern Miss, the Sunday night game, man, the inning where they went up 7-4, two of the runs came in, one on a wild pitch, one you literally walked them in.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in that inning, they put like 2 or 3 guys on base. Like, they didn't even get hits. Like, you just like put them on and moved them around. Like, just gave it to them. I mean, it was brutal to watch. And you were like, oh, okay, and then you had no miraculous comeback that game, right? It like they went up 7-4, and that was pretty much it. And they ended up tacking another one on, and it was 8-4. Well, you got to go play a winner take all tomorrow. and then, it's like, okay, who are they going to pitch? McHale can pitch, but who's Southern Miss going to pitch? Well, they decided to pitch Tanner Hall, and you're like, oh boy. But then a part of you is like, he just pitched over 100 pitches on Friday. How's this going to go?
Yeah. And
then McHale comes up, and first batter puts one out, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. And then the next, they take care of business, and you go to the first inning on the home side, and you put 3 runs up on Tanner Hall, and you darn near take him out in the first inning. Yep. And you like, it's like, okay, we're going to take over this game. And then, a few more innings go by, and Cade puts one out, and it's 4-1, and you're like, we just got to put up zeros. We just got to put up zeros. And unfortunately, we couldn't put up enough zeros. And they tacked on 2 runs in one inning. And I think it was in a bases loaded situation where you kind of got in trouble.
They got out. They actually got out of that inning, and it was like, okay, 2 runs is
2 runs
great,
out of that. Yeah,
but that was a good way to end it. It could have been a lot worse.
And so it's 4-3, and then I can't remember how they put up the 4th run to tie the game. I can't remember, but was it that one? I know there was another inning. It was the 7th inning where they went up 7-4.
Yeah,
right. Was it the 7th inning?
LSU, and then I think you're correct. And then LSU answered, and
with
they
2
put
runs,
2, which was massive.
That was massive. All on 2 outs. All on 2 outs.
And you had guys coming in the clutch.
Why are we reliving this right now?
I know. And then a guy who's had not really a great year because of injuries, Gavin comes up and he ties the game up. And at that point, I was going, here we go. And I tweeted it. We had to have a 0. We had to have a 3 up, 3 down, or a 0 in that inning. And what happens? Base hit. They start the inning with 2 base hits. I will repeat. They had to have a 0 in the top of the 9th. They had to have a pitcher to come in during that game and close the door, and they didn't have either.
You felt confident because Eric had come in, and last night, the night before, he was shaky, and then he came in into this Monday winner take all game, and he looked sharp, like he looked like himself. And then in the 9th inning, we need to go 3 up, 3 down. He gets both guys. The first guy is 0-2, and he misses his spot. He hits a single. Next guy has him 1-2, misses his spot, hits a single. It was like, oh my gracious. And then Pearson, the guy on first base who had got the first single, really wasn't a great runner. He was not a great runner.
Yeah.
But he hit it to the right field, and Pearson did not charge the ball. Instead, kind of fielded it like a base hit. And so instead of him charging the ball to kind of hold the runner, he let it come to him. So the runner advanced to third. Now you got runners on the corners, no outs, and a pop fly takes the lead.
Yep.
And eventually that's what happened, and you got out of it. And I mean, you're almost you can always play the what if game, but what if he charges that ball and holds the runner at second instead of going to third?
Here's another question, Reagan. Since we're playing the what if game, and here was a big what if in that game. I know a lot of people have asked this question, and I see some of it coming through. I know Danny Girl and Peyton are kind of going back and forth. Bo Lander said at least Tennessee lost. Maybe they lost.
They did.
Wow.
And Drew Gilbert got ejected, and it was hilarious.
Wow.
And their pitching coach got ejected.
So, Reagan,
and they deserve to be ejected.
What if they leave McHale in longer? Because McHale was cruising. He was cruising. I'm assuming they had to have him at a pitch. They had to have him at some pitch count. This amount of pitches were pulling. So try and preserve him.
I think it was a little bit of a pitch count and a short leash. Like if they got out of testy quick, like he's going to pull him. And they allowed the first home run, and then he seemed to settle in. And it was the fourth inning. He had pitched 3 full innings, and of course he had already pitched, and he pitched 50 something pitches, and it comes to the fourth. And he walks the first batter, and I think it was a little bit of both. Short leash, pitching, a pitch count limit, and it was like, all right, he's already gone 3 innings, and we open the fourth up with a walk. We need to go get him for, he falls apart. Like, we don't want to blow this. And so I don't – we can say this now that we've watched the game play out. Like if it played out, for the better, nobody would have said anything about the way Hilliard was pulled, right? Yeah. Like nobody would have said anything about it. But the decision was, okay, he's pitched, he's gotten us 3 innings, they've only scored 1 run, but he opened this inning up with a walk, and there's no outs guy on first base without even getting hit. Let's get him before he wears himself out and gets us into trouble while we have a lead. So I think the thought process of what Jay and Jason Kelly were doing was, on the right track. Like, and it wasn't just erratic,
Yeah.
But
I get that point, Reagan. But at the same time, that you don't have very many arms. They had arms, but they were gassed. You had already used Gervais. You had already used Had you already used Hasty that week?
Yeah, you had already used Hasty.
A lot of those guys that they went to, they had already used. Outside of, I think, Raiselman, right? Because Raiselman had not been used. I don't think so. Had he?
Raiselman was used, yes.
He had already been used
on the Sunday night game, yeah.
So there you go.
He was the one who kind of fell apart on the Sunday night game, yeah.
So, like, those guys had already been gassed, and considering the entirety of the season – and how much they were asked to extend because you didn't have a solid weekend rotation, that's a lot on a pitching staff, on a bullpen throughout an entire season. And here at the end of the season, I have to agree with Matt Trent and what he said on Blake's show the other night. I think they hit a wall. They were gassed. And
it definitely
USM's pitching staff was outstanding. They had a very great deep pitching staff. They had of course they have Tanner Hall, they have Waldrop, they had that kid that completely shut us out. Justin Storm on the Sunday game. So, they just had dudes that they could throw out there and that they trusted, and that was the difference in the ball game.
USM had pitching pitchers, was definitely good. Yeah,
USM had pitchers that could shut down LSU's bats. And LSU did not. LSU had pitchers that were just gassed. And
the thing that just hurts when you look at it, like when you realize it, is Sunday night you had a major advantage.
Exactly.
Because they were, they've used their 3 guys, they've used some of their key relievers, and
you had guys saved.
and you had got your saved your bullpen, like guys like Eric Raiselman had not even been used yet, coming into the Sunday evening game.
Paul had not been out there long yet
Paul,
either.
yeah.
He was still available.
And Sammy Dutton hadn't pitched yet, so you kind of had one of those guys who had started for you, at points in the season. But you take a lead early, and then you let the lead slip away, and this guy, Justin Storm, who pitched 9 innings the whole season. This wasn't even like this. Yes, their pitching was incredible. But that was your best opportunity. Like, you needed it. You needed to win it that night because they're throwing a guy out there because they're kind of spent. They gotta rest some guys. They're throwing a guy out there that's only pitched 9 innings all season.
And he looks like a weekend rotation guy.
And he comes in and absolutely closes you out. I mean, for 5 innings, I think he allowed like 1 hit. And that hurt, man. I mean, for them to have a guy step up like that.
He was a lefty.
And pull that off. So, yeah, the left hand. Oh, my gosh. Every time they brought in a left-handed pitcher, I was like, no. And, dude, you saw it. I mean, Tanner Hall, right? Great pitcher. I mean, stellar year. He was a right-handed pitcher in the first inning. We put up 3 runs on him.
Yeah.
But then they would throw Justin Storm out there who ain't pitched 10 innings all season, and he comes in, left-handed pitcher, and throws 5 shutout innings.
Yep.
It's like, so, I mean, it was brutal. I mean, to have a guy like that and you couldn't get any hits off, you couldn't take him out of the game, you couldn't close it out. Man, it was rough.
Well, Danny brings up a good point. Danny and Peyton have been going back and forth, and so we can comment on this, Reagan, and then we can I guess, move forward. But Danny does bring up a good point. We've talked about the pitching, which obviously hurt, but she said, I agree with Peyton. At any point, a pitcher can shut down those bats, so that is when things like pass balls, basic errors will cost you because too much emphasis is placed on the bats. I think I have to agree, Reagan. I have to agree. I think it's a dichotomy. Like, with the bats getting shut down by their bullpen, and you had the problems in the field that you hit, and not even necessarily errors, but just things that did not count as errors, but that cost you, like the fielding decision you mentioned by Pearson, the pass balls, those hurt you. The walks.
Oh man,
so not even just their pitching staff, but our pitching staff, and not even necessarily our pitching staff allowing just getting hit on, because a lot of it was themselves not being able to command the strike zone.
Yeah. It just, man, it irks me because this team's not going to be, I mean, this team can be great this next year. No doubt. I mean, they can be an incredible team next year. But the team you had this year, man, if you could have paired it with some incredible pitching, starting, this team was a championship team. This is a championship lineup. And it just hurts that this season ended the way it did, because you're not going to have Barry next year, right? You're not going to be able to have that Dylan Cruz Barry back to back. Oh, also you got Doty following up, right? Like, and he's probably gone too. So like the roster may not, the lineup may not be as intimidating next year, but you sure hope you can get some better pitching. But like, that's what I'm saying though. It really, really hurts that this year it didn't work out that way. Yeah. With the pitching, because oh my goodness, this lineup paired with if we could have had some great pitching, we could have made a championship run. But your pitching caught up with you, man. It just caught up with you. And Southern Miss is a great team. They really are. I mean, they are a tough team, and they deserve to be in the tournament, no doubt. But it just you feel like the lineup that we had, if you could have had some more consistent starting pitching, guys that could come in and just put up zeros, that could have been a championship team. So
Day Girl says, I actually disagree with you, Reagan. I do not think you had a championship catcher or
Come on, Danny
shortstop,
girl.
which are integral parts of a championship team. The bats are
I
great, but not everything.
I get that. I get the catcher and shortstop, but come on, guys. If we were to have pitching like Southern Miss had with this lineup,
Oh,
yeah, come on now.
yeah.
Come on now.
If you had a weekend, if you had
Come on now.
if you had 2 weekend rotation guys that could give you like at least 6 every game, at least 5 every game. I mean, the weekend guys that you had, you were hoping they could go 5 or 6. You were hoping they could go 5 or 6, right? But if you had 2 guys, like a Tanner Hall, like a Waldrop, that you're like, I know he's giving me at least 5. I know he's giving me at least 6. Yeah, this team's been on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you had pitching like that, your defense doesn't have to work as much. your catcher isn't missing, as many balls with a pitcher who's pitching like that, right?
Yes.
Maybe a shortstop doesn't have to make as many plays. So yes, look. I'm not disagreeing with y'all that the shortstop and the catcher didn't play a role in it. They did.
Obviously.
I mean, there were moments when it cost you games at times throughout the season, 100%. And so I think it's going to be addressed, and that's a good way to move here. The future. I think it's going to be addressed in the offseason. Both of these things that we're talking about here, pitching and fielding, both of it. So we can transition here. Hattiesburg was what it was. Let's talk about season 1, Jay Johnson, and the future. Things that have to change. How is it going to be addressed? What do we think is going to be addressed with? Yes, Jay Johnson is going to put an emphasis on this offseason on fielding and pitching. No doubt about it. I don't disagree with y'all at all. There was a lack of fundamental baseball when it came to fielding. There was a major drop off. It seemed like, right? I mean, man. There were times when our defense couldn't pick up the ball off the ground. So, Zach, what are the issues? I mean, well, I guess I kind of said it, but how are we going to address what we saw this year? How are we going to address the pitching? How are we going to address the fielding? What are we doing? What is Jay Johnson's task this offseason?
Well, first off, there is good news. You have the number 1 recruiting class in the nation that's coming in. And don't say that freshmen aren't going to impact the game because Josh Pearson, Josh Stevenson,
Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan last year.
Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan last year.
Okay,
freshmen can impact and be major catalysts for a team. And also you have the transfer portal. And I fully expect Jay Johnson. It feels like this year, Reagan, it's just the transfer portal for LSU. Like football's got to go out and rebuild with the transfer portal. Basketball, both sides, men's and women's, have to go out and rebuild with the transfer portal. And guess what? Your baseball team is going to do it too because they have to. They have to go and get guys.
LSU appreciates the transfer portal.
We appreciate. Like, if you're an LSU fan, you better not be against the transfer portal because basically every single athlete, just about that you're going to be watching next year for the football team, the basketball team, the women's basketball team. And probably your pitching, a good bit of your pitching staff next season, potentially, is going to be from the transfer portal, right? So, I think you have to address that. I think obviously catching was a problem. Peyton mentioned, he said, no pitching is no excuse for the poor catching. We did have some poor defensive catching in the back, and I don't think it was all on the catchers because some of that is on the pitchers, on the pitching staff, and catchers getting crossed up. Like some of the problem is not just the catching. It's on the pitching staff. So you got to address pitching. Obviously, I think that's probably the biggest thing, and even more so than the fielding. I know the fielding was the worst thing that you had this season. But you can fix that through practice and and going through fundamentals.
Hard to fix it in season. You got to address it in the offseason.
You got to address in the offseason, but you got to get bodies. You got to get bodies for the pitching staff. You've got to go out and find a weekend rotation. You do. Now, you got a guy in Ty Floyd who looked really, really good near the end of the season, and you hope you can build off that for him next year because he is probably him and then potentially Javon Coleman coming off of his injury. You know, you maybe look at those two guys and see if they can be a weekend rotation. But I think you got to go and get a few guys. I fully expect Jay Johnson to hit the transfer portal. And speaking of the transfer portal, Reagan, we did lose two guys today to the transfer portal. Gio entered the transfer portal today, and Brennan Holt, freshman shortstop, entered the transfer portal. Actually already has a team. He's going to Oklahoma State. So, you know, you're going to expect that. But I guess that brings up a good point, Reagan, and a question I'd like to ask you, Reagan. You know, and you can discuss, you know, what you think needs to be built upon, fixed. But who comes back? I mean, there's some guys that have some decisions to make, Reagan. And if they come back, you know, you're going, you know, some of those guys, they came back this year and you were like, man, this is going to make us so much better. And those two guys honestly didn't play hardly at all because of injury.
Yeah.
Do they come back this year?
I guess you're talking about Gavin Dugas, Cade Beloso.
Correct.
With Gavin Dugas, I don't know. With Cade Beloso, I think so.
And I agree because Gavin seemed, I mean, in that post game press conference at the end of the regional, he was very emotional. And when I was watching it, I was like, is he leaving? Like, is this a sign that he's gone because of how emotional he is? Yeah. You know, it made it seem like with what he was saying that he's done, which would be disappointing considering the season that he had this year, dealing with all the injuries and, you know, and wearing number 8 and not getting able to be out on the field as much as he could have been with the team. So, man, I would really like to see Gavin come back and
I would love to see Gavin come back and have a season like he had last year. Right. I mean, I hate the way it happened with his hand this year and whatnot. I think there's a spot for him to battle for out in left field for sure next year because they're like you got to think Trey Morgan's coming back, Dylan Cruz is coming back, Josh Pearson's obviously coming back.
Thompson will probably be coming back.
Yeah, Jordan Thompson will be coming back. The positions that will be up for grabs, I think, are left field, third base,
shortstop,
yep, and catcher. And Jay Johnson did say that he wanted Alex Milazzo to be back and a part of this team. So if he's healthy, I think Milazzo's your catcher. Which, to y'all's point, you know, with the struggling at catcher, which I agree, there was definitely a struggle and was very frustrating at times. Milazzo can fill that gap because I wish he would have been there the whole time. And I would have loved to see McManus in like a DH role with Joe Bear, you know, a matchup thing, right? If it's a right-hander, you can put Joe Bear out there. If it's left-hander, put out McManus. That's the roles I think those guys need to play. The fielding for both of them. I will say there was times when McManus made some great plays this regional. I mean, you think about the one that came off the backstop and he made the play at the plate.
The IQ of that play was impressive.
So I mean, McManus made some great plays, but there was also some inexcusable plays that he made. But Milazzo is an elite defensive catcher, and he needs to be behind the plate next year. I mean,
and he'll be you know, under year 2, you know, under Jay Johnson with his hitting. You know, he's got to be able to hit though, Reagan. He's got to be able to hit the ball. Okay. If he's hitting 200,
I do not care if he's hitting 130. I don't care. Throw him in the 9-hole. I don't care. You can grimace or not. The dude belongs behind the plate. I don't care what he is batting. He could be batting 0-70. The dude needs behind the plate. Needs to be behind the plate. After this season, he belongs behind the plate. Period.
If
He were healthy,
hovering around 200, I'm okay with it. If he's hovering around 200, I'm okay with it.
No.
Even if
You
it's
earlier in the season, you were like, okay, I get it now. Now here you are backtracking again. Here you are backtracking.
I don't know about that.
No, Zach. That after this season, he is behind the dish. And if he ever could have gotten healthy this season, you were putting him right behind the plate. He should have been back there. If he was healthy, he would have been back there. And next year, when he is healthy, he's going to be behind the plate.
I mean, I don't disagree. He's definitely the option there at behind the dish. He's definitely the best option there. 100% agree. But
9-hole spot.
I just want to see him produce more. I'm not saying that means he needs to be out of the lineup. I'm saying I just want to see him hit more. And
I think he will, honestly. I mean, he was batting almost 200 when he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, he was around, I think, 190 to like 210 or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And that's why I was like, if he hits around 200, even if you're not at 200, I'm fine with it. But
yeah, and so I think his offense will continue to improve, but he'll be the catcher next year. If he's here healthy, he will be the catcher. So where were we at? I forget where I was at.
Guys coming back.
So left field, third base, shortstop. Those I think. Well, I guess maybe second base too. Yeah, man. Dang. May look like a different team next year.
Hey, Doe to come back? Can he come back?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, absolutely he can.
Cade.
Absolutely he can. He's a sophomore, but he's a draft eligible sophomore because he is 21. Man, you would love to have him back. He's got the deals with Gordon. Maybe it's enough money to get him to stay.
Jay May can talk him into staying, especially if you address the pitching this year. I think depending on who they bring in and how they're looking pitching wise, you may convince him to stay, and that would be massive. If you can get Gavin Dugas to stay, Kay Beloso to stay, and Kay Doty, and you just lose Barry, like out of your main 9,
not likely, but
I mean, shoot, if you get 2 of them back, Reagan, that's massive.
Yeah, I think your best option to try to get somebody back is Gavin Dugas and Beloso. Correct. I don't think Doty's come back. Maybe if you get him paid enough. Maybe I mean K Doty's probably gonna be like a second, third round guy, Zach. I mean, that's hard to pass on. Like he might, I don't know, he may go higher, it may squeak in a little bit higher than that. Maybe we need to look at some draft boards and look where he's kind of projected. But if I'm not mistaken, he's like a second, third round guy. And typically you go, right? So
I don't think he's staying either. I will say that. But man, that'd be massive if somehow they got him to stay.
Maybe he's LSU through and through and will stay. But that you like the whole point of like college ball is to make these guys great men. They play great baseball to move on to the next level. I mean, that's so. And if he has the opportunity to do that in like the second round, do you hold it? You don't really want to hold him back from that.
True. So considering everything that we've just talked about, Reagan.
Yeah.
Considering, what is to come. Considering how Jay handled the problems with Jay and Jason, how they handled the problems with the pitching staff this year, because we obviously knew that was going to be the biggest weakness of the team. Let's get to our grades here, and then we can kind of maybe hit some comments and then go to commercial break after this. But I'll let you go first, Reagan. Let's just do A, B, C, D, we can do plus, minus, whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you think Jay Johnson did? I've got mine in my head.
Jay Johnson gets on year 1 an A minus. Jay Johnson gets an A minus. This is a great team. And first year, the expectations maybe were a little bit too high for a first-year guy. Also considering the pitching he lost from last year's team to this year, I give him an A minus. I give him a lower end A because of the fielding. I think there was maybe a lack of focus on the defensive end, and it bit you several times. I think Jay did what he could, honestly, with the pitching. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the guys you have, right? Like, if you don't have the guys, you can't just, as a coach, miraculously make things happen. Like the dudes you have to go out there and execute. And if you don't have the dudes, like, it's hard to, and they managed what they could. The management of the pitching, I think, was great, honestly. I know at times they didn't come through, but the way they handled it, I think, was a great job, because they eventually found a thing that worked, and it was the bullpen. Now, I know this regional, it was a different story, right? But they found a formula that worked. If you got Hilliard to pitch 5 innings, 6 innings, if you got Ty Floyd to pitch 5, 6 innings, or Sammy to get you 4, right? Your bullpen could come in and get you out, right? And get you outs and take care of business. And that worked for them, and it looked great. So offense obviously was great. The pitching, the talent may have not been there, but they did a great job of what they had. The defense was lacking for sure. So because of that, a year one, an A minus. If this is year 3, it's a B minus. But year one, these are the cards you're dealt. I think he did everything he could. A minus.
I'm close to you there. I'm giving him a B plus. And I think he gets a B plus. And if you're in here, go ahead and give us your grade. How do y'all think Jay Johnson or just the team overall did? Give us your grades. I think he gets a B plus, and the reason I think he gets a B plus also because you mentioned the fielding. I wholeheartedly agree with that, Reagan. I think for whatever reason it was weird that LSU has been exceptional defensively, and last year they weren't like amazing, but they were good. They were a lot better than this year.
Second base last year was your only issue at times.
Yes, like they played very well last year defensively, and you had basically the same team, basically the same infield, except you're bringing in Jacob Berry, and we know he wasn't phenomenal at third base, but could get the job done, and it was just weird that it was that bad. I mean, it was bad. It was bad defensively.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's one reason they get knocked down. Another reason they get knocked down is in my opinion, the clutch hitting, the being able to just get a base hit when guys are in scoring position. That was very inconsistent at times this season. And we know that because we talked about it a lot. Now you had times where they could string together hits and they looked really good. And when they did, they won those ball games.
Yeah.
But you relied too much this season off the home run ball. And while it worked, it worked for you. And you won a ton of games off relying off the home run ball.
Yeah.
But it also cost you in some of the ball games that you played. Not being able to hit. And the approach at the plate, I don't think was terrible. I don't think it was bad, but at times I questioned it. Guys' approach at the plate, and being able to defend the plate whenever they got down in the count. There was times during the season that I questioned that why they weren't able to defend the plate as much as they had in the past. So for those reasons, I give it a B plus. But I have to agree with you, Reagan. I mean, with it being year one, I think Jay did a phenomenal job. I really did. But another reason I give him a B plus is because you had a stacked lineup. You really did. I mean, this is the 1 through 9 is one of LSU's best 1 through 9, and it's up there. It's got to be at least top 3 in all the years that I've been watching LSU baseball. It's got to be in the top 3 as in 1 through 9. I mean, that lineup was potent, right?
Yeah.
And so that's another reason I kind of give them a lower grade, because we expected, and I think I agree. We probably set too high of expectations for this team, but I think a lot of that was due to the lineup that you had, and I think that I think the reason I give them a B+ is because I think that lineup could have done a lot more than what they did this season. Now they were phenomenal. They were awesome. I'm not saying they.
Yeah, I mean, you essentially had the second best offense in the SEC.
Exactly.
Tennessee.
I think so. Maybe that is somewhat of the expectations, because the 1 through 9 was just so good. We expected more, and so that's probably why I give them a B+. Is I was expecting a little bit more. I think I was expecting a Tennessee type year with this team, with the offense at least, not the pitching. Now the pitching, I mean, Tennessee's got the pitching. But with the offense, at least,
Tennessee. Look here, I'm not claiming anything, but the whole Tennessee thing doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I'm a little sketched by Tennessee. Okay, Ben Joyce coming from whatever freaking community college, and then all of a sudden he's throwing 102, 103 on the regular. You guys are jacking home runs all the time.
Oh,
like you're having like this. I know last year was great.
Reagan,
it's like a jump. Like you.
Is this a conspiracy in sports type thing?
Dude, that team, like, you got to think about it, Zach. All these pitchers that are so incredible for them, all like transferred. Yeah, and you're telling me Dolander transferred from Georgia Southern and all of a sudden became the best pitcher in the country? Like, Ben Joyce transferred from a community college and all of a sudden he's throwing 103 on the regular. You know, like you look at guys like Drew Gilbert and Jordan Beck that came in. You need to go look at like Drew Gilbert, like when he came into Tennessee, and then look at his like how he is built now. It would not surprise. I'm not saying they are, but it would not surprise me in the least.
You're saying they're on just Reagan?
It would not surprise me if they were juicing in the least. I'm dead serious, Zach. I would not be surprised at all. I would not be surprised.
Hot take, Reagan. Hot take.
The jump. I mean, come on, Zach. The jump they make.
It is pretty impressive.
I mean, from being completely irrelevant, period, and also you bring all these transfers in, and it just becomes like one of the best college baseball teams put on the field. Like, I don't know. It just smells a little fishy. I'm just saying. And the way they act, the way yeah.
We'll see.
I was so glad they lost tonight. And I would love to see Notre Dame put them out. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
For
cool.
them to not even make Omaha. You need to go see the video clip of Drew Gilbert getting thrown out tonight and their reactions.
Send it to me.
Like, okay, let me give you a comparison. Somebody said this somewhere, so I'm not going to take credit for it.
Okay.
But it is Hugh Freeze. I have a Hugh Freeze feeling about it.
Oh.
Okay. I know Hugh Freeze I think he's a great coach and, whatever, but Ole Miss made this rise and it was like, where the heck did Ole Miss come from? And then everything came out and it came crumbling down. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised. Real quick, Zach, the whole Jordan, shortstop thing, we're hearing rumors about Josh Day over at Missouri.
Yeah.
Over 300 hitter, great defender.
Put Jordan at second.
Move
Jordan over to second.
There's gonna be competition. It's going to be competition, and then if you bring if guys like Mikey Romero and Gavin Guidry skip on the draft,
I don't know if they're going to skip the draft, but we'll see.
I think Gavin Guidry is a tiger. Mikey Romero, I think, is going to the draft.
Mikey Romero.
I think Gavin Guidry's coming.
If you bring in Mikey Romero somehow, wow. But yeah, I agree. I think you
but I mean, Mikey Romero seems very on the LSU train. So,
we'll see.
He's very active on Twitter about LSU. So I would love to see him come. But there's going to be competition for shortstop, no doubt. And one guy to look out for pitching transfer, and you may have heard it already. UCLA Thatcher Hurd was the 36th ranked player in the country coming out of high school, the number one pitcher out of California, went to UCLA. He was actually a guy kind of weird. I kind of watched his recruitment and knew about him coming out of high school, and now he's transferring, and that is a guy LSU needs to go get.
Yes.
You need to go get that guy. Purdue's ace. Ooh, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but Purdue's ace is in the transfer portal.
Go get him.
There, Jack Walker out of Mississippi State is in the portal. You need to go get these guys. You go get these guys. There's going to be competition. I think the issues that we saw this year, Jay Johnson's a young coach. He's not a dumb coach, and he's going to attack these issues. He has a very championship, I think, mindset about himself. He took Arizona to Omaha, and I think he has every capability to take LSU to Omaha, and I think he wants to do it he wanted to do it this year, right?
Yeah.
That was his expectation this year. And so he's going to be eating for it next year. And Tiger fans are hungry to see LSU back in Omaha. So I think the issues are going to be addressed in the portal, freshmen, whatever it may be this year. But I think the offseason for LSU baseball is going to be a great offseason. And you got great guys returning. Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, Jordan Pearson, Alex Milazzo, guys like that are coming back. And you can lean on those guys who were great guys this year. I mean, Dylan Cruz is the best player in baseball. So it is what it is. All right, let's hit a quick break. We'll come back.
We'll address some of these comments real quick with these.
We do address them.
All right, so Danny Girl says she gives Jay Johnson a B-. All right, not bad. She says overall team grade, team collectively, not just tournament, was a C at best. Well, I guess with the pitching and the defense,
team grade, sure.
I can
talent wise and the pitching staff.
Maybe a C plus. I'd probably give them a C plus, considering how the bullpen did. They definitely excelled.
Sure.
They definitely overdid their expectations. Let's see. Peyton said if JT is our shortstop next year, unless he puts in a bunch of work, Lord help us. Oh my goodness. Milazzo better start catcher if he's back. We mentioned that. I think Milazzo is going to start.
He's probably not going to bat 0.70.
Let's see if JT gets because JT's bat's good. JT's got a good bat. And let's see if they move him on over to shortstop, especially if they go get
maybe third base.
Maybe third base. Either one.
That's how he earned his spot at shortstop.
You said my expectation was a C, so my book he overachieved by a little bit more than I expected.
There you go.
Peyton said I give him a C. It's his first year, but Maneri left him with a good team, and we struggled at what Paul Maneri was good at. What's your take with that, Reagan?
Paul was great at having defense. Paul wasn't the best at managing his pitches. So
correct. So I think Jay kind of failed in the defensive category. I have to agree with Reagan and what he said earlier.
Jay's pitching management was better.
Jay's pitching management was better.
Paul had more talent. Paul through the years had more talent at pitchers. You think like Alex Lang, Kevin Gausman, Jared Poche, Eric Walker, Aaron Nola. Like he had talented guys where the pitching management at time, you didn't see that come through at times because you had guys who go out there and throw like 8 innings.
Yeah,
Alex Lang and Aaron Nola. So, but there was times Paul's pitching management was
suspect.
Yeah.
One more, and then we'll go to break. Oh, Danny Girl, Oh, are they volunteering to take special copies?
I'm telling you, I would not be surprised. I would not one lick if it all came crumbling down and Tony Vitello was fired and found out all of them was hot for PEDs or whatever.
We'll see.
I'm telling you.
We'll see. Let's take a break. Before we do take a break, y'all send in your Tell Me TAs. We are going to start transitioning to football. Reagan, I'm pumped. Woo, I'm pumped, man, about some football. But we're about to transition here. We're going to take a quick break. Y'all send in your Tell Me TAs. It can be about anything. You know, we've talked a lot of baseball tonight. So if y'all want to talk about some football, we're ready to get into football, man.
Whatever.
I'm
whatever.
Football.
Ask me my favorite verse. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Y'all go ahead and start sending them in.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. 5-Star Hero. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
All right, Zach. One more thing on the whole Tennessee thing. I saw a little comment on Twitter about Mr. Dolander over at Tennessee. You're telling me that he goes from Georgia Southern being a 4-3 pitcher, 4-3 with
at Georgia Southern
over a 4 ERA, and now he's the best pitcher in college baseball.
Ooh, Reagan, you really might be on to something.
Again, Ben Joyce came from a community college and is pitching 103 on a consistent basis. It's a little sus is all I'm saying.
Peyton says they're eating their Wheaties.
that that you know that little dust on them Wheaties? It ain't powdered sugar. Okay?
It ain't icing. All right. Y'all send in your Tell Me TA questions.
Get them in here.
Y'all send them in. So Danny Girl brings up a good question. Tell me, TA, what will y'all do now that all our sports are in lull?
Well, look, I mean, as you know, we did not go at the beginning of this week, so we will let you know. With the lull, we do kind of step back a little bit. There's a lull between, whenever it's just basketball rolling, we step back to one show a week, and so from now until probably fall camp, maybe we'll be doing one show a week. But that brings up a good point, Zach. You want to tell them about what we're gonna be doing leading up to the football season and for the next few weeks.
Yes. So
tell me, TA,
as Reagan said, we will be kicking back to one show. Those are going to be on Friday. So on Friday nights, we'll go live. I don't think any of the other podcasts go live on Friday, so that's why we go live on Friday. I do want to go ahead and announce our guests that we'll be bringing on. So what our plan is we're going to be previewing football and bringing on several guests that y'all know and love to just preview the football season with us and get us ready for football, discuss certain things, certain topics we want to discuss. Me and Ray are going to get together on that. And really just talk football. So, we've got a pretty cool lineup. So this is who we've got so far. We're expecting to get some more guys, or gals come on and talk some football. So we've got the Balcony Bengals. They're going to be joining us. The Golden Boot Pod, with Pooh Bear, Ant, Daniel, they're going to be joining us. Carter, the Power Hour LSU is going to be joining us. And of course, Blake is going to be joining us as well. So we got a star-studded lineup. Reagan. It's going to be joining us to preview LSU football. Danny, tell me, TA, which star QB would you prefer we get? Who is your guy? Dante Moore. Look. I know. Like a lot of people want Arch because He's a man.
It's not happening.
First off, it's not happening. Secondly, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the nation. I don't. I think there's better quarterbacks in Louisiana than ours.
I saw a TikTok, and I know this is off the cuff, but there was a TikTok I saw one time on the whole like rating system thing. And so obviously Arch Manning is considered best player, best quarterback in the country. I think the name, kind of brings it up a little bit.
I think he gets a whole nother star because of the name.
Yeah, correct. So there was a quarterback, and this is all I can't remember specific numbers. I know the generic numbers, and I can't remember his name, but I remember he was out of Wyoming. He was a quarterback in Wyoming, and he had his junior year, he had over 3,000 yards throwing and almost 1,000 yards rushing. And he had several touchdown passes. I think he had like 20 something touchdown passes his junior season, and had 9 rushing touchdowns. So 3,000 yards, almost 1,000 yards rushing, and like 30 total touchdowns. And then his senior season, excuse me. Let me backtrack. That was his sophomore year. His junior year, he had 4,000 yards passing, over 30 touchdowns, had a 1,000-yard rushing year, and 14 rushing touchdowns. And he had 0 stars. 0.
Wow.
0. So I went and looked him up. I saw this TikTok like forever ago, so I can't remember his name. But I went and looked him up. He currently has now, I think, 2 or 3 stars after his junior season, the way he did. But dude, his sophomore year, he threw for 3,000 yards and almost rushed for 1,000, and had almost 30, if not more than 30 touchdowns, and then came back his junior season and had an even better season, and he finally got his stars, and his numbers were better than Arch's. And it's like, dude, is like the whole thing messed up with the rating system? Like,
well, COVID's also thrown off the rating systems because
true.
They're having to watch huddle films instead of actually go to games. So I think you're gonna see a lot of weird things with the rating system. Like, you're gonna see guys that like weren't rated or were like 2 stars, 3 stars that are just phenomenal, and you're gonna see guys that are 5 stars, 4 stars that bust. So
I don't think
100% do not want Arch, but what about going with a lesser name and focus on development as a solid backup? Look, the Dante Moore stuff's picking up. It's picking up. It seems like he is down to LSU, Notre Dame, and Oregon. And Notre Dame just had a kid that they're interested in reclassifying.
CJ Carr.
He was reclassified. So I think we might get an announcement, a commitment maybe soon.
On3 had us as Dante's leader. On3 recruits.
Well, he's the high choice for 247 as well. But don't forget about Jaden Rashada. He's out of California. He's a 4-star QB. LSU is on him as well.
Yeah, I think our chances with Dante Moore are better than Jaden Rashada, but I wouldn't count him out if somehow Dante went somewhere else. But Arch, here's what I'll tell you about Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning, I think there is 0 chance, Zach. There is almost 0 chance Arch Manning lives up to the hype. Because the hype that is given to him is like way too much expectation for a kid coming out of high school.
Aren't they saying like he's the best out of the group? Yeah.
Look, his name is Manning, and that's the whole yes, he's a good quarterback, guys. Like, he's a great quarterback. But there's no way he meets the expectations people are having for him. Like, the expectations are unrealistic. Like,
I
the expectations for Arch is come in, win a national championship, win the Heisman, right? Like,
I think Eli Holstein's better. I think Ricky Collins might be better.
Yeah, I mean, there is no way he meets the expectation. There's no chance he meets the expectation. Now, I'm telling you, he could come to Texas or Georgia or wherever he winds up and be incredible. But I still don't think he meets the expectation people have for him, because I think the expectation is way, 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 way too much. Just because his last name is Manning. And I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. That I just do want to clarify that. But people are acting like he's about to come in and like go take Texas and win the national championship first year. Like that, people think if they sign Arch Manning, like they're going to be set for the next 3 years to compete for a championship. It's just not true. It's just not true. One guy can't. I mean, one kid coming out of high school can't come in and just turn your whole program around like that. Like you saw, like people would make arguments like Trevor Lawrence. Dabo Swinney built that program, and you also got to think about like Deshaun Watson before him and the talent that Trevor Lawrence had. He came in, he won the championship his freshman year, but then he was never able to do it again. And then people would argue, well, Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow, but he also had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall to throw to, right? So, of course, Joe Burrow is an incredible, incredible quarterback. No, not taking anything off of him. But to expect Arch Manning to come in and do something like that, the expectation is set way too high. Way too high.
I agree. And I will say this, Reagan, transition here as we're about to get done and close here. With the quarterback position, I think, I don't think LSU has a chance at Arch Manning. I really don't. I don't even know
if they're trying.
They don't. They're not even trying. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, they're keeping. Let's be real. They're keeping contact and whatnot. They're not just blowing him by the wind, right?
You better believe if you bring in Manning, you're going to sell more tickets.
Sure, but I think they understand where they stand. Like the Mannings like the new staff at LSU better than the past staff, but that's about it, right? Yeah. They like Brian Kelly and the way he handles things, the professionalism. They've made that known. I forget who said that. I think it was Cooper Manning said that about him. But like that's the extent of it, right? Well, they're attacking Dante Moore and Jaden Rashad.
And let's transition here, Reagan. Since we're talking QB, we're talking a certain position. I think what we're going to do, because I'm excited about football season, because that's where we're at now, Reagan. We got to start looking forward to football. So I think what we're going to do, and y'all send us suggestions. Y'all send us, what do y'all want to hear us talk about with this upcoming football season? What do y'all want to hear us address? So one thing I do want to do, Reagan, is I want to kind of go position group by position group, and kind of preview each position group, grade each position group heading into the season, our expectations for the each position group. Is that I think that'll be something cool that our viewers will enjoy. But y'all send us y'all's suggestions as well.
Absolutely. Well, I think that just about does it. Appreciate y'all guys hopping on here and interacting. We'll hit one more quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap the show up.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
All right, guys. We sure do appreciate y'all joining in for Tell Me TA and shooting them in there. And y'all know we love discussing all the things y'all love to ask about. Appreciate all the feedback, about the baseball season and your inputs and your grades. Y'all keep coming back and joining in. So from now on, Friday nights here until we get closer to football season is what we'll be doing. Friday nights around probably in the evenings. Most Friday nights is when we'll be doing that. So we'll see y'all in next Friday night for next show. Y'all make sure to follow our personal accounts here on Twitter if you're able to, if you want to, if you're just now joining in, which I see Al Landry is saying, hey guys, just now jumping in. If you want to go back and watch, obviously YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you can watch the whole show over again. We have them posted. And if you're just able to listen, your preferred podcasts are down there on tons of apps. I mean, I think that may be just be a few of them. There may be more that they're on, but I think those are all the main ones there. So whatever preferred podcast app you use, you can always go back and listen to the show if you're able. Appreciate y'all joining in. We'll catch you next time in the Tigers Avenue. 5-star Hero, take us out. Peace.
Who that 5-star? Who that 5-star? And the LSU Tigers, LSU Tigers.